On today's episode, we are digging in and continuing our conversations in the longevity sector. And we're in sort of this season of exploring and discovering unique technology that can be harnessed and used for longevity. And this conversation is with the founder of a company that I've actually personally used and invested in for a couple of years now. For myself, for my family, and for my daughter, Rosie. I'll dig into that in just a minute and share our story with you. But we will be chatting with Jason Applewhite, who is the co-founder and chief technology officer of Bimini Hydrotherapy, a wellness company pioneering in the use of oxygen nanobubble technology to enhance human health and recovery. Fascinating. It's driven by a passion for empowering individuals to take control over their well-being. Jason has been instrumental in developing the Bimini Nanojet oxygen perfusion system. This innovative system delivers ultra-fine oxygen nanobubbles through water immersion, facilitating deep tissue oxygenation and promoting benefits such as accelerated muscle recovery, reducing inflammation, and improved sleep quality, and so much more. We'll dig into this conversation. I honestly think you'll be so delighted and surprised. This will be a completely new thing you've probably never heard of or even dreamed of. So let's dig in. So, Jason, I'm so happy for you taking the time and being here today. I wanted to open up with a little bit of a story about how I'm even familiar with your work. And it's been a few years now since we first met. I think we met back in 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, probably 2019. Yeah, right before I think COVID hit.
Yeah, totally. And I was really looking for ways to influence Rosie, my daughter's health and physiology, who has a rare genetic disorder and absolutely no solutions in the regular medical sphere. I trekked down to Houston, Texas, about 3.5 hours away from my house for her to try out the Bimini Nanojet technology and noticed an immediate response. Like her cheek is normally blister hot to the touch, red, and it's a manifestation of her inflammation. For 24 hours after she did it the first time, it was calm, white. She was just a little more engaged. Anyway, I went home and I was just in the earlier stages of Modern Thyroid Clinic, saved up money and bought one for her myself, completely out of pocket, no discounts, no nothing. And we've been using it now for probably close to 2 years, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It's been about 2 years coming up on it.
Yeah. Not only does Rosie use it, I use it, my kiddos use it, my husband uses it, and I'll share more about our journey along the way. But I am going into this conversation deeply grateful for the work that you all have done and have been able to experience it myself and for Rosie for years now. And it's been an invaluable asset to her and her health and for us too. So thank you. I just wanted to lead with that.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. Yeah. That's why we do what we're doing. Right. And when you start a company, you get the ups and downs, but it's like, when you hear stories like this, it's like, these stories are what makes every moment of what we're doing impactful for not only you, but ourselves too, to like kind of help put this technology out for the world.
Absolutely. I have the same feelings for us and our patients too. It's so rewarding. I want you to tell us a little bit about the Bimini Nanojet technology. What is it? How does it work? Like, give us the foundation.
Yeah. So what we did is we pretty much created a product, a technology, the Nanojet, that uses water to transport oxygen into the body. So now by comfortably sitting in water, your own bathtub at home, you can supplement oxygen through our oxygen nanobubbles. So you soak in water that's highly concentrated of these oxygen nanobubbles, and it just flows through your skin into the soft tissue. Yeah, just a little background, like how we started. I was in the product development space, helping companies bring their ideas to life. So I was working with NASA, Dell, a lot of companies in Austin, Houston area, the Methodist here in Houston as well, doing diseased pig heart valves and stuff. And so we had a doctor come to us and say, hey, I got this idea for this nanobubble generator, because there's been microbubblers for years and years, used in the beverage industry and different industries for fish farms, etc. But this nanobubble generator could create these nanobubbles that are less than zero point 0.1 microns, so 2,500 times smaller than your skin. And we pretty much made it a little better, modified it, and the next day I had a product in hand where it's all like one piece. And so he started using it for these industrial applications, fish farms, agricultural, wastewater treatment. And then we had a little system set up at our office, and we would start just doing tests with it. And when our first test subject was my father, he had like plantar fasciitis, and he got to a point where he couldn't really walk much. He was in so much pain. And so he just started soaking his feet in. And the day after, he'd be able to walk for 2 or 3 days. And then he'd get in again. And then we started doing the full body submersion and everything else. And he started calling it his fountain of youth, because he's like, I'm 60 years old and I feel like I can like 30, 40 again. It's giving me like life back. And so after that, we tried to like make this product, because right now it was rudimentary, like beta system. Everything was spread all over the floor. And I was like, we got to make this.
That might have been when Rosie and I came. Like it was not too far from that.
Yeah. No, you came during the R&D phase for sure when we met. And then we kind of packaged it up into a box that we could actually sell. So we came up with the name Bimini, as, you know, we say like Ponce de Leon never found the mythical islands of Bimini, the fountain of youth. We created it with our oxygen nanobubbles. And that's where the name Bimini came from, is we call it our fountain of youth in a way. And so we started with Rice University. They were one of our first customers doing high-level performance athletics on the sports science side. And that's how we started our journey into pro athletes. So going Gabby Thomas, helping her win gold medals, to NFL athletes, NBA, NHL, and so forth. And now we're getting into this space of functional medicine, biohacking, longevity, and seeing a lot more success than we ever thought we would imagine possible when we started this. And it comes down to the basic elements of oxygen and what it's doing in the body. And so when we got in, we were like, oh, okay, we can help people walk, maybe have some soft tissue injuries. And now we're seeing benefits with Alzheimer's and neuropathy and all these other conditions where it's like the sky's the limit at some points where this technology is going to help people.
Absolutely. I remember too, whenever I decided to take the plunge and get one for Rosie, it was like this or a hyperbaric chamber, because the concepts are sort of, it's not the same tech, but the concepts are interchangeable, right? Like if we can get oxygen to tissue, it can trigger healing, regeneration, reductions in inflammation, just delivering what our body needs. And so the cool thing about this technology that I want to put a pin in so people understand is it's not concentrated like an H-bot that uses pressure to work it into your body. The bubbles are so small that they readily pass through your body and integrate into your physiology, right?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, most of our customers, especially the pro athletes, they all had used hyperbaric chambers before, because they knew the power of oxygen when you supplement oxygen into the body. And so there's 30 trillion cells in your body, and they all need ample amounts of oxygen. And so the first, obviously you have breathing techniques and hyperbaric chambers, Vasper, Live O2. Those all are still going through the lungs. So that's the main difference. So everything like that is, you're pressurizing in a chamber oxygen to go through the lungs to kind of disperse out through the body more. Whereas we're using the largest organ in the body, the skin. So as you soak in, we have like 300 million of these nanobubbles in per milliliter of water. So it's highly concentrated. And they're 2,500 times smaller than your skin pore. So it's able to easily perfuse through the skin into the soft tissue. And that's where we start seeing, especially people with limited blood flow to their feet, where they're able to take oxygen and deliver it straight to their feet, and not having to go through the bloodstream and flow into all these areas where they're having issues with. And so, yeah, it's great that we created a tool to allow others to get oxygen, whereas before they were having issues getting oxygen in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you guys started in like the athlete performance recovery, and I'll give like my own little tidbit about this in my experience, of which I am not a professional athlete, but I do work out. And I swear, if I go work out and I know I'm going to be really sore the next day, if I sit in the Bimini the same day, 95% of my soreness does not ever happen. Like
Yep.
it literally just doesn't happen. I'm just not
Yep.
sore. If I don't, I'm screwed because I will go too hard at the gym, especially after a few weeks off. My husband's like, when are you going to learn? But really, truly, it mitigates a huge percentage of that. Tell me about how it can aid in muscle recovery, inflammatory reductions, even boosting and those sorts of things with professional athletes, but also like normal people athletes.
Yeah, so our pro athletes, so we'll start with the pro athlete side and then we'll kind of go to everybody else because not everybody's a pro athlete. But these guys are at the top of their craft and they're looking for every tool out there to get that edge, right? And so when you have these pro athletes like Derrick Henry, Kyrie Irving, Gabby Thomas, the champions that have been doing this for a long time, what they've told us is when we deliver oxygen into the body at this way, we're creating you don't get that DOMS effect where you get that delayed onset muscle soreness kick in, and we are limiting the lactic acid buildup because the muscles are so oxygenated. And so when these guys are in mid-season, they'll do a session a day before a game. So say you have competition the next day or a big run, they'll do day before a game, and what they've said is like when it gets to that fourth quarter, they're like, I still feel like I'm just starting the game. Like I'm not getting tired. I'm not getting winded. And then after that game, obviously they'll do another session and then they don't get that soreness. So the big focus right now in athletic sports is recovery. They've all got the performance down to a T, like from the sports science side of like how to push the muscle. Now it's recovering that muscle because you're breaking down muscle fibers. Now you need to recover it so that you can continue to perform at the highest level. And so that's been the biggest difference for them. And that's why Gabby Thomas, when she started using it in March before the Olympics, she was able to get better training sessions. She was getting less soreness, and she was able to go and win 3 gold medals in 3 different events because of her muscles were super oxygenated, and she was able to keep going. So oxygen helps repair that tissue faster, so it helps with the recovery side. And then also during competition, that delayed onset of lactic acid buildup so they can go longer into the fourth quarter. And so I have professional centers on majority teams, big linemen, that they're gassed by the end of the game from these just running down the field. And they're like, now I feel fresh. Wide receivers getting off the line, like my legs feel much fresher. I have an extra bounce. Kyrie and Luka taking the Mavs to the finals last year before the Mavericks kind of dissipated this last year. But yeah, so they've had unbelievable success, and everybody that's using it, like you said, can attest to the benefits that they feel from not only like a post-workout recovery, but using it the day before a competition or a game and getting that extra boost. And so we're seeing, like, especially for the NFL guys that are year 7, 8, they're getting extended careers because they just feel like they can keep going. They're not ready to hang it up yet. And they get an extended contract for a year or two, and they're not ready to go, and they make a little extra money and go from there.
So ironic, Jason, but my oldest son, Pablo, who plays soccer at a university, he really is an elite athlete. In my opinion, he could easily be a professional soccer player. He just texted me and was like, hey, can you come set up the oxygen bath for me? And I'm like, no, I cannot right now. I'm actually interviewing the guy that created it, but FaceTime your dad and see if he can help. So funny. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. I want you to talk to me about pain and inflammation and how nano oxygen can reduce chronic inflammation. For me, this is such a fascinating area. Stories too. Feel free to share any stories. Rosie's was one for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of like internal inflammation. So really, like you said, when you give the body what it needs, whether that be, we have a doctor that's big on the OWL method, oxygen, water, light, nutrition, even EMF or PMF, like different pulse electromagnetic frequency devices. There's a lot of tools out there that recalibrate and reset the body. And so when you give it what it needs, like the body can do a pretty good job of healing itself, right? So if there's a lot of chronic inflammation, what we're doing is oxygenating the tissue. So it's repairing itself, replenishing those cells, getting rid of the waste. There's a detox effect to kind of help rid the cellular loss in the body as those new cells are replenished. And so that's the biggest thing we're seeing for people with neuropathy that have this chronic inflammation pain in their legs. They're able to start moving around with no pain, no inflammation. It kind of helps get rid of those after, say, 2 or 3 sessions. And then it becomes a way of life of like every 4 or 5 days, they do a session and then it doesn't come back, right? Or when we talk about inflammation in the skin, so the skin, like rashes, or we've had a case of a young man, 16 years old. He had, they labeled it atopic dermatitis. They couldn't figure out what it was. They tried all these topical steroid creams, everything else. Probably what it was an internal thing that his body was outwardly showing, hey, I've got some issues going on with this. And then it became out in a rash. And so when he started doing 2 sessions, after the second session, he had this for months. It was pretty much completely gone. And it was detoxing or giving the cells what they needed so that his body was able to kind of get rid of that rash, which was pretty much crying out for help. Like something's going on internally. I need oxygen, nutrition, and everything else that the body needs. So yeah. And then even down to the effects of Alzheimer's. So the brain is interesting because we're now getting more and more studies and data back on not only the soft tissue and muscles that are in the water, but the brain and elevating the brain chemistry and synapses firing. So we have people at an Alzheimer's clinic right now in Florida that are soaking their feet in in the nanobubble water and getting improved benefits cognitively. And so it's incredible when you just look at the brain as being 2% of the body mass of the body, but it consumes 20% of the oxygen. So it's constantly needing to refuel itself with oxygen because everything kind of starts with the brain to kind of fuel, to figure out what everything else is doing. And so we're getting a lot of success with that in the Alzheimer's space. So that's another area where we're going to have to start doing like more studies and figuring out what's going on in the brain, down to even concussions, diabetes. We've had diabetes patients getting off insulin and so forth. And just like I said, giving the body what it needs so that it can pretty much take care of itself. And we're using the power of oxygen and water, two incredible things that God's given us, and pretty much working in a way so that we're supplementing oxygen as you soak in a bathtub.
It's so cool. And then when you think about it, basically, like even with Rosie, she's sitting in the bathtub, but high concentrations of oxygen are just free flowing through her body. And then obviously it makes its way into her bloodstream. And then that simply carries it all the way up to her brain, right? Yep. And then it perfuses the entire way through the brain in a hyper concentrated state and creates healing and new neuroplasticity. And it's just so cool.
Yeah. And then what I'll say is like, because a lot of these people that are elderly, they can't, hyperbaric's been around for a long time and it's doing some amazing things, but not everybody can sit in this chamber that is highly pressurized comfortably for 60 to 90 minutes. And so when we have these patients that are, say, 60, 70, 80 years old, and they're trying to get some mobility back, that's the first thing our doctors are doing is just starting with a foot soak. So they can all mostly sitting in a chair comfortably and soak their feet in water. And then if they get a little more mobility, they'll start maybe soaking their whole body. But yeah, it's a good starting place to kind of help start supplementing oxygen, even down to where we had a Dr. Noah Moose out of Austin. He had an ALS patient who started losing mobility in his hands. And just by soaking his feet, he started being able to move his hands again. And he had this kind of fungus growing in his fingernails, and that all completely went away after like 4 or 5 sessions. So that's without his hands being in the water. And that's the only thing they changed was adding the Bimini Oxygen Nanojet to his protocol. So what we're seeing is compounding effects. So when you add oxygen and then you're also stacking it with other modalities, say red light, PMF, and some other tools to kind of help recharge the body, there's like compounding effects and stacking these different things that are out there. And so oxygen is just one. So we brought a tool to the table that you can supplement oxygen into the body. And then a lot of our players do red light. A lot of them are doing some PMF devices that help charge those cells to take in oxygen even more. Some people are doing some nitric oxide that, opens up those blood vessels so that once you get oxygen in it, it's flowing through the body more. And so there's a few, and I'm sure you have a number of other things that you're doing as well. But yeah, that's
so cool. I envision in the future kind of like there are sauna places you can go to and cold plunge places you can go to. I really wanted to create this in Austin, a Bimini oxygen place where people could just go to recover and heal for any of the reasons, right? So who knows, maybe that's still in our future. But I really do believe in what you all are doing. And I totally agree. Like I'm a big believer in HBOT. I love hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I think it's incredibly powerful. I have taken Rosie to do it when she was very young in a severe flare, but it's really hard. And you have to do it 90 minutes, 5 days a week for like 3 months. And that's challenging. And from a lifestyle perspective, from a price point perspective, and it's difficult. So I love that this is so many of the same benefits in a way that people can just sit back and enjoy it and have just a bath.
Yeah, for the most part, most people can take baths. And the way we made this product is we try to make it so that people can empower themselves in their own home, like take care of their own health in their home without having to go to the med center, doctor's clinic. And so we are coming out with some more device technology. We're a more transportable unit. And then we do have on our forecast, like the Bimini centers, like you said, is a place where we can go and have multiple of these pods set up so that you can soak in oxygen and then stack these other tools on top of it. There's already a number out there. Obviously, a lot of people know the different biohacking labs and places to go. Yeah, we're just kind of getting it out there. And we have more of our technology being implemented in those facilities. So our goal is to kind of get a map so that people can see where they can go and experience this before they bring it in to their own home. And then, like I said, like our goal is to try to, like right now, our product is at a certain price point. You can finance it for under $300 a month, but we are trying to cognitively trying to get that down so that more and more people can afford this because we know how much impact it can have on people's lives. And so everything we're making now in terms of profits going back into building inventory and then new products that, maybe we can drive the price down a little more and try to get this into more people's hands as much as we can. But with any company, you got to start at some base level products and then try to expand and grow from there.
Yeah. You had mentioned, I ran into you a couple weeks ago. You had mentioned a new product that you all are trying to develop. Tell us about it. Like what's next for Bimini?
Yeah, so we have a portable unit coming out that's a lot of our athletes just say, hey, I'm on the road every day, especially our NBA guys. They're like, hey, I'm constantly we travel so much. The NFL guys, they at least go back to their facility throughout the week and they get their own treatments at their house. But especially for NBA, NHL, where they're on the road, they want more of like a hard shell case that they can carry on the plane easier. That's more transportable. We're looking at making a new 2.0 version of a home unit that we're going to be doing. And then we have a bunch of hotels and med spas asking us for a chair where all our technology is embedded into the foot, like a foot bath. So imagine like a nail salon with our technology embedded into the foot bath. So where you sit in this chair, you have like the sound frequencies going, you can have a red light panel on top and then soaking your feet in oxygen. So it's like stacking those three different technologies together, which that's a little ways out. We're working with the chair manufacturer right now to try to see what all that's going to look like. But we got some early drawings and it's looking pretty cool.
That's exciting. So exciting. Well, thank you. Is there anything else we should know? But I also want to share with everyone how they can find out more information. And then we are going to set up an affiliate code for you all as well under the name McCall. But anything else we should know that I maybe didn't ask?
Yeah, for the most part, I think we went over most of it. The benefits of oxygen for recovery, inflammation, aches and pains, soft tissue, brain, memory, low energy. I don't know if you've seen, like, you get boosted energy as you use these. Even sleep. So sleep's another important thing. So we have a lot of our athletes that are playing night games and coming off and not being able to sleep right away because their body is still amped up. So by oxygenating the body and then especially the brain, it helps you get into this REM cycle much better. And sleep is where your body is pretty much healing and doing most of its recovery. So sleep, anything you can do to improve your sleep. And we know we've had a lot of people where their sleep, that's the first thing they'll tell us. Like, one of our customers is The Undertaker. He's the old WWE wrestler, and he's always on. Like, I'm always up at 1 or 2 in the morning because that's used to be when I would wrestle. And he goes, but now, like, I'm sleeping like a baby. And so that's his first thing that he said to us is like, I got all these soft tissue injuries, but the main thing I noticed first out of the gate was my sleep improved so much. So all these different benefits that as you get the basic elements of oxygen into the body, it has an incredible impact. So yeah, we have a code set up for McCall. It's McCall, and you can find us on Instagram at Bimini Nano. And then our website's Bimini Hydrotherapy or Bimini Oxygen. We just want to help educate on the powers of oxygen and how our nanobubble technology is able to, so you can do it in the comfort of your own home, pretty much. So
I love it. Well, thank you all for your work. Thank you for the help that you've given my family and Rosie. I just really appreciate you all, and I'm excited to see what's on the horizon and to be able to watch all of this evolve and lives get changed. And yeah, I'm excited to share y'all's message.
thanks, McCall. Appreciate it.